do you choose a plumber? You got a leak in your house, you got to run a toilet, you want to choose a plumber. How do you choose a plumber? Well, you could pick a plumber because they got a college degree, got a bachelor's degree. Oh, that's a good requirement. Maybe we pick them because they got a certificate from the local plumber technical school. Maybe you pick them because they get an A+ on their final plumber's test. Or maybe you pick them because they got a 20-year plan. And they say, well, I've been in business for 20 years. So you pick a plumber because of those criteria, and oftentimes this is what you end up with in the end. And you go to your plumber and you say, what's going on? The plumber says, well, I did my best. I tried as hard as I could. I gave it my best effort. But we don't pay plumbers for effort, do we? We don't pay plumbers for trying. We pay them for fixing our leaks. We pay them for their achievement and success. So how do you choose a plumber? Recommendations?
Angie's List.
Oh, Angie's List. We go to Angie's List and we ask what other people think about plumbers. What experience have you had? We go to Fixer or Home Advisor, online web services that rate construction and plumbers and electricians based on their customer complaints and services. If they have a license, we go to the Better Business Bureau and we see what kind of rating do they have based on customer complaints and how well they were handled, based on their time, based on their licensure. Or maybe we go to Facebook or Twitter or Yelp, or we go anywhere in our social network and we get recommendations. Who do you know that's been a good plumber, that was successful in plumbing? Well, this is what you get when you go out there and you find recommendations in other sources. You get a plumber that, you like that plumber, huh? Want his number? Clean job, good work. But so we don't rely on these traditional educational and training measures to tell us what a plumber can do. Why do we rely on them for our employees? Why do we rely on them when we're hiring people, when we're training people, when we're promoting people, when we're assigning people? Why do we do that? So you don't pay your plumber for that. You pay them for what they can do for achievement, for competency, for success. So we're going to talk today about badges and portfolios and learning artifacts and how we can use different ways to measure and assess what people can really do. Now, you might think of badges. I said badges. What do you think about when you think of badges? Do you think of Boy Scouts? Okay. Think about this.
Hi, how's it going? It's Mr. Game Trucks here.
Game badges. How about Badges of Fury, the movie? Little glitch, little glitch. That was a glitch. Huh?
Technology's great.
Oh yeah, it's just a word.
Hi, how's it going? It's Mr. Game Trucks here. Welcome to the Euro Badge Review. You gotta please wear your badges.
Dr. Daniel, USDA. Inspector Shepard Homicide. Show me your badge right here. Here you go.
Secret Service.
I just wear the badge.
We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you on a speeding badges.
That might be how you think of badges, but we want to think about badges differently. So one of the typical frequently asked questions I have about badges is, what is a digital badge? And how does that have anything to do with documenting learning? Another frequently asked question I have is, what's an e-portfolio? What's a portfolio? What's that all about? How does that have anything to do with learning and learning assessment? Third question I'm asked is, what's a skill matrix? How many know what a skill matrix is? Yeah, a couple of you, good. But how does that relate to digital badges and portfolios? And the fourth question I'm asked is, what does a learning contract have to do with any of this? So those are the four questions I'm going to answer for you today. Those are the four questions we're going to pursue. So first of all, we're going to do a little creativity exercise. Each of you have an envelope in front of you, different multicolored envelope. In that envelope, you're going to find a blank piece of paper, and you're going to find some little stick-on emblems, stick-on badges, we're going to call them. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to write very briefly on your card, how have you demonstrated creativity? Just tell me, do an I did statement. If you're familiar with tin can, you know what that means. And I did this, I created this, I made that, I built this, I produced that, I invented this. Make it simple. Something you did, something you made, something creative. Then I want you to tell me, where would I find evidence of that? I want to see the proof. I want to see the evidence of what you created. Where would I find it? Then I want you to draw something creative. Make it simple. Don't get too elaborate, all you Van Goghs out there. Make it simple but creative. And then I want you to pass that to the person on the right. If you don't have somebody on the right, pass it to the person behind you, or pass it to me, or find somebody to look at it for you. And then I want you to look at your neighbor's drawing, and I want you to rate it based on, is it a novice drawing, a talented drawing, or a master drawing? And they won't take a minute. Return the card, and then pass the card to the person on your left. Do the same thing. Rate the person on the novice, talented, or master. Then place it back to the owner. Slip it into the card in the envelope, and on the outside of the envelope, write a short reflection on how you could be more creative today. What could you do today in the next 2-3 hours to be more creative? Make it real simple. Then pass the envelope to the person on your right. If the person who finally receives the envelope, if you're satisfied that they did everything that's required, I want you to take one of your sticky badge things, peel off the back, and stick it on the envelope. Real simple.
Does it have to be actual, or can you be anything?
Something you did, created. Something you did. Something you created, you made, you invented, you built it. Anything. Have you ever done that? A report, a PowerPoint, a picture, a painting, anything else for your kids, whatever. If you don't have anything creative, that's okay. And just say, I did nothing. You have done something creative.
I have. Just really like to think about what I want to write on this piece of paper.
Oh, make it simple. Don't. This is not. I'm not going to hire you or give you money based on this. There's no. But you will get a badge.
I get a badge.
You got to finish this, or you don't get your badge. You know, somebody to your right or left, find somebody behind you, in front of you, or me. Will finish very quickly.
So we're writing it and then we're...
Right, what you did, where would I find evidence of that? In your house, on a website, on a blog, at work? Where would I find the evidence of that? Then draw the creative drawing, pass it to the person on the right.
Represents what you did.
Yeah.
Represents what you did.
Where would I find evidence to prove that you did what you said you did? If you say you built a birdhouse, where would I find that birdhouse? If you say I created a video presentation, where is there a link or a place on your computer? Something simple. Just make it simple. Pass it to where?
Put these things on there?
Not until you're done. Remember, when I tell you, you don't get to put the badge on until you're all finished, and your sidekick here is going to put the badge on. You don't get to decide to put your badge on. How are we doing? Confused? Make a drawing, tell me where I can find it. Draw something creative, pass it to your neighbor, let them rate you, pass it to your other neighbor, let them rate it. Put the card in the envelope, and on the envelope on the outside, right, how can you be more creative today? Pass it back to your person on the right, and they will stick a sticky on it if you finish all of your requirements. What do you want?
Oh, okay.
Be creative. No. Draw flowers, draw cars, draw dogs. Be creative. Real simple. Keep it a simple drawing. Don't make it real complicated.
I need to pass it to somebody that I think everybody
Just okay?
go left.
Yeah, you're going to go left. If you can't go right, go left. Be creative. Be creative. If you need somebody, I will look at for you. And you have to swap with each other, and then you can let her look at it.
Is she right already? I get this
Try to do this expeditiously.
I get this back. I get it back to you when you get to the rating.
On the card, just write your rating on the card. Everything goes on the card until you're all done. And then you're going to put in the card, write your reflection on the outside.
You need your card. Okay, write on the card. I mean, the envelope, right?
No,
The card.
You write it on
you write on the card, just rate on the card. Anywhere on the card, front or back, it doesn't matter. Well, you require a lot of high maintenance group here, aren't you? Those are your badges. Keep your little badges. You're going to be sticking them on somebody. You're going to stick those little badges on somebody's envelope, so hang on to them. Once your partner, your sidekick there is all finished, and you're satisfied that you completed the requirement, Then stick the badge on the outside of the envelope. How are we doing? I never envisioned this was going to be this difficult when I wrote this up. My wife told me that. She pushed it. Oh, they'll figure it out. So these are talented people. All right, does everybody have your envelope back yet? Anybody have an envelope with a badge on it yet?
No.
You get the badge yet? Go ahead. All right. Well, she sticks it in the envelope. You write a reflection on the outside. Now, you write on the outside of your envelope. What can you do today to be more creative? How can you be more creative? Quit asking for directions and just do whatever you feel is right. That's creative, isn't it? All day I've had to do that because I'm the speaker handler for all the speakers, and we had 2 rooms without projectors or screens for 45 minutes before they were supposed to start. And so my whole morning was being creative. How can I creatively find ways of doing this for free and having it done in 45 minutes? But I did. I'll probably be in trouble tomorrow. But all right. Are we done? Has everybody got a badge? No?
I got my own card back.
You should have your card back with a sticker on the outside. If you don't have a sticker, let me see. You didn't get a sticker, did you? You didn't write the reflection on the outside. How can you be more creative? Next to the last. Kind of hard to see from back here. The last thing on the outside of the envelope. How can you be more creative? I can be more creative by forgetting all the old ways I do things. I can be creative by listening to somebody else's advice. I can be more creative by doing something I've never done before. Get the badge?
No, I gave it to him.
You got it there. Okay, that's fine. But then you do it. Okay, when you're finished, you should have given somebody a badge, and you should have a badge on your envelope.
Oh, yeah.
Who has a badge on your envelope? Who does not have your envelope? Give him a badge if he's done it. He's got a badge? Okay. Anybody else? Who else does not have a badge? All right, everybody's got a badge. So what? Imagine. That's very difficult, right? Difficult process. Imagine if all this was digital. Imagine if all this was digital. It's all in the cloud. Now all this we did was all digital. Just keep that in mind. We're going to come back to that later. All right. Studies show, and I can show you the research, and you go look at the reference page on my handouts I'm going to give you, you can look for it yourself. 70 to 80% of what we learn as adults is not in the classroom. It's not formal training. 70 to 80% of what you know, what you're capable of doing, you did not learn in any room like this, sitting down and going through some formal training. Sarah Lee did a study, and they found that it was experience on the job, networking, socializing, mentoring. 18% was all the training, all the learning that took place at Sarah Lee from formal training and formal classes. Kind of incredible, isn't it? This is where we learn. We learn in massive online open courses. We learn from experience. We learn from mentoring, blogging, the workplace, looking at videos, going on our hobbies. There's any number of ways that we learn that have nothing to do with formal training. This happens all the time, 70 to 80% of the time. And this is, I'm going to give you a little quick synopsis of a learning cycle. Now, you know learning cycles. You probably have seen a lot of theories about them. This is, kind of breaks it down to the 4 basic essential elements of a learning cycle. First, you have an experience. From that experience, you reflect on what happened and you decide what it means to you. Then you decide, how can I use this, or how can I apply this or use this in my life? And then you actually apply it, and that creates another experience, and the cycle continues. Simple? This is how we learn. And we go around this circle until we have mastered the skill, or until we're satisfied we've got enough, or until we get bored. Now, let me show you what an actual informal learning cycle looks like. I go to a concert with Spanish pianists. It's playing. And I go home and I reflect on that experience. And I think, that was really great. That was so inspirational. To watch his fingers move up and down, to listen to those tones and the emotion I got out of it. I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if I could play that. So I take some of my good hard-earned money and I go buy a guitar. Cheap one, but I buy a guitar. And what do I do next? I go go on YouTube because you can learn everything on YouTube. Am I right? They actually, Brain Surgery or Us is another website. You can learn anything. So I watch my YouTube, I play a little bit, but that's really not enough. So I call my friends and I say, let's go over to your garage and let's practice your garage. Now, granted, it's not as good as the Spanish concert pianist, but I'm learning from mentors, I'm learning from other people, from my peers, we're coaching each other, I'm learning how to play. And so from that experience, I go back home and I think, that was a cool experience. And what else we could do? Maybe we could start a band, maybe we could take some courses. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do something else until I master the guitar. Does that make sense? Sound like something you would do? Okay. This is what typically happens in a formal learning cycle. I'm told to go to a guitar class because everybody's going to go to the guitar class because it's mandatory and you're all going to get it. Or I go to a guitar class because somebody told me that's the only way you're going to learn guitar. So I go to the class and I go home afterwards and I reflect on the lousy experience I had. Now, I'm happy I am and I didn't like the instructor and this isn't working for me. And so what do? I go home and I smash my guitar and I go, I hate this. And I become a tattooed biker selling drugs. So don't end up a tattooed biker selling drugs. Embrace informal learning. It is how we really learn. Why do we learn so much informal? Why do you think this happens? Because it's our own pace? Because you're interested in it yourself? Because you tailor it to yourself. Because we imitate? There's a lot of reasons. It's our own pace, it's our own style, it's flexible. I don't like instructors. I may not like the particular instructor that I get. It's just in time so I can learn when I need it, when I want it, rather than learning it and I don't use it for a year. So there's a lot of different reasons we learn informally. It just makes sense, doesn't it? If you think about it, maybe we should be learning almost everything informally. You can mix a little bit of formality, but on the whole, maybe we should do it all informally. However, you've seen this expression, right? What gets measured gets done. That's what organizations tell you. So you're the training manager, you're the training department, you're an instructor, so what do? I got to measure something, so I come up with measures. And I have a little checkbox, and I check off my measures, and I check off my measures, and I check off my measures. And I go, look, people are learning. I checked all my measures off. And then you think, well, nothing's changed. People really aren't doing anything. They're not happy. They're not attending my training. So maybe that's not the best way to do things. And this is what people do. People start to hide the numbers, or they hide from the numbers. They manipulate the numbers. They try to come up with measures that we can beat, because I need to show success. Now, I know Jack Phillips is talking about return on investment and the levels of evaluation, and I love Jack. And I understand all that. But, I'm not so sure that's really what we want to do when we're measuring learning. Peter Sankey said that this whole practice of measuring learning and measurement, it's mechanistic. It's archaic. It destroys the nature of learning. You mentioned how we learn naturally. It destroys the very nature of learning when we're measuring using these statistical models for business. W. Edwards Deming said 97% of what happens in organizations and what really is important you can't measure anyway. Sure, you can measure that 3%. Sales, production, waste, speed. But the 97% is you and me and everybody else. What do we know? What can we do? What are our competencies? And Deming says you can't even measure that. Problem. So, prove to me you're competent. Anybody, prove to me, can you do anything? What can you do? Prove it. What's the evidence that you can do anything? Yes, what evidence? I don't want to know what you tell me. I can see that on a resume or an application or...
My high performance rating.
And what does that show me?
Okay,
Oh, a high performance rating. A measure of that. And what does that prove to me? How does that prove what you can do?
That I can do my job.
I want to see evidence that you did your job.
Well, okay, one thing I've done is the reason I'm here is I started a learning portfolio for 10 fellows.
Can I see those portfolios? Can I look at them?
Yes.
Okay, good. Anybody else? What can you prove to me you know anything, Larry?
I've developed several...
Can I see it?
Yes.
Where is it? All right, very good. You're getting the point. Anybody else? Good. Nobody said, I've got a degree. Nobody said, I got a certificate. Nobody said, I went to training for 82 hours. Nobody said that because we know that doesn't prove anything, does it? It's effort. But we don't pay plumbers for effort, do we? We pay them for what they can do. So I want to see what you did. I want to see what you accomplished, not what your effort was. Because effort doesn't mean performance. So this is what we're looking for. What did you record? What did you tape? What did you create? Who did you train? Who did you coach? Who were you coached by? I want to know all of this information because that's the real learning path. That's the real anthropological, archaeological dig that I can uncover. This is how you got to where you are. These are things you did that led this on this learning path to what you know today. But I really don't know what you know unless I can look at that history, and unless I can look at that path. So what if we use badges for learning? Let's try badges for learning. You know, when I think of badges, you think Boy Scouts and stuff like that? You get a badge? What do? They do something, they earn a badge. What if we use digital badges? Not badges, but digital badges. Not just digital badges, but open badges. So we're talking about open source software, open source interfaces, that in a place where we can create digital badges that will show me the evidence of everything you've ever done and everything you've learned to earn that badge. You've already got one badge, but what if that was digital and it would reside forever on the top? Right now you just got a little stick on it. But that doesn't really tell me enough. So this is what a digital badge really is. It's a representation of achievements, of success, of evidence, of your competencies, but it's all in a digital form.
In doing this work over 5 years, one of the challenges has been helping kids understand what's possible, what's doable, and the pathways for getting there. What badges enable us to do is that if I'm a new person entering the world of U-Media, I can go online and I can see all the people who've been there before and what they've done, what they've attained by looking at their badge history. And then I can click on any of those badges and say, well, wow, I want to be able to do this too. And right there in looking at that badge, it's going to tell you these are the types of workshops you need to do, these are the types of artifacts you need to create. And so I can see the work of others and learn from the work of others and then be inspired and have a pathway of how to get there myself.
As an individual learner, I'd probably get a badge after I'd gone through some sort of experience, whether that's in a museum or a library where I kind of took a workshop, or whether that's something I did online, and I proved that I know something or I achieved something. And so basically I get a badge and it's attached to an online profile I have, just like any other online profile.
Youth development and worker development organizations that have been very integral to our success so far, they're actually creating the array of badges that will become part of a national manufacturing system, which would connect directly to the pipeline of new worker applicants that we provide, we push to employers looking for new talent.
What we're striving to do in our interaction with badges is add value to the badges ecosystem by displaying that information on our site with an association between that skill and interest badge and a particular occupation. We're also excited to contribute metadata to anyone else's badges so they can put that back at their source. And so if someone is an issuer of a badge, we can provide the data backwards. This is the occupation or jobs that match up to that badge for the person to consume when they're looking at that badge somewhere else.
Badges for lifelong learning. This is what an actual digital badge is, and Mozilla has come up with an idea called open badges. And the open badges are images, digital images, that contain metadata. And when I say metadata, you're thinking of the NSA and all that spy stuff. But we're talking about metadata that's going to be embedded in the badge. It's going to be coded in, burned in, baked into that badge. And the information might be the name of the badge, the description of the badge, what criteria has to be met to earn the badge, who the issuer was, a link to their website, a link to the evidence of what you did to earn the badge, the date it was issued, if there's an expiration date on the badge so you know when it was issued, any standards they had to meet, if there's any licensing or special standards, and any tags that might link you to other similar badges. So this data would be coded into that badge, baked into that badge, and that digital image would contain that. It can't be changed, can't be altered forever. And in order to see all that information, guess what you do? If I want to see the evidence of what you did, I want to see your e-portfolios. I want to see who issued them. I want to know who said you were good. I want to know the criteria you had to meet. What were the rubrics that you had to follow. I click on the badge, and all this would become available. Links to anything I want to see. All digital, online, all forever. Your learning page. Good question. What? No, we're not saying they're going to replace diplomas. I suppose they could in the future, but we're saying they can complement diplomas. They can document both the formal and informal learning. We can have a badge for this session today. Guess what? We are going to have a badge for this session today. And when we're done, if you give me your emails, I'm going to actually send you a link that will issue you the badge once you turn in your little folder, and I know that you've done all your work here and you've attended. So you'll have a badge for attending this session. And then I'll be the issuer. If anybody has any concerns or questions, they can click that link. They can find out who issued the badge, what it was you did, what you have to do to get the badge, what were the qualifications, so it'll give some people an idea of what you've done. Anything that you do can be, you can have a badge issued for it. Soft skills, hard skills, peers can issue a badge. They're doing this in K through 12 a lot. But it wasn't something that initially anybody thought was, well, how can we do this for business, for employers? But it turns out it works fine. And here's, you got any questions so far before I give you an example? All right. This is an example of a badge. Now, you can't see it, don't worry, I'm going to blow it up. It's called a mentor badge. It's issued by Webmaker. Anybody know what webmaker.org is? Ever heard that? It's an organization where you teach people how to use the web, how to make web pages, how to run websites, and you teach it all online, which is typically where this all starts. To earn your badge, you have to do one of three things. You can create a teaching resource. They give you a template, and you submit a kit or a guide or some activity online. It's all digital. You send that link or that URL or that object to the website for approval. They give this to other people who are already mentors, and they look at your product and they say, yes, you've done a good job. You've shown that you can create this product. We'll issue you a badge. You get your mentor badge. You could also have a web event where you run a web classroom, or what they call a hack jam. Any programmers are in here? Okay. So you run something like this, and you can demonstrate to people that you can do this, and then you get a badge issued to you. And that's what the badge would look like. And that would forever have all of this data. You would have a link to this page for what you did, everything you created, and I can follow this forever. This is something you carry with you the rest of your life. Now, here's a badge might be more familiar to some of you. Learning designer. Any learning designers in here? All right, if you're an instructional designer, for completing a learning curriculum or a curriculum design or a learning design project, you get a badge. Now, what do you have to do to get the badge? You insert a URL link to your curriculum design or your learning design product, and then you ask for the badge to be awarded. 3 registered people who already have their badge, they look at your product using a rubric that's already been established on the website. They rate your product, and they decide whether you should be issued the badge. So if you're asking, what's your name?
Carolyn.
Carolyn. If we want to know if Carolyn can really design learning, and she says, well, I got a badge. It's online. There it is. There's a link to my badge. There it is. I can click on that badge, and I can go to this website, find out what she had to do, what was the criteria, who awarded the badge, what was the discipline that she had to show, what was the rubric they used, and the product that she actually created. And I can go, wow, you can do this. A little more powerful than her bringing me a resume saying, I can design stuff. I go, yeah, how do I know? Proof. So the badges capture the past. All these badges, you can imagine everything you've ever done, everything you've ever created, any informal learning you've ever taken, that's ever taken place, in any format, you get a badge. And these badges are forever contained on the cloud, and you can follow the path of learning that you took to get where you are today. So I know what Monica could do. I could see it all by looking at her badges. So let's create a badge. Work with somebody next to you, or you can work on your own. I want you to create a badge. Now we're going to pick from ASTD's competencies. Anybody here got your CPLP certification? Certified Professional Learning Performance? We have a competency called Training Delivery, and one of the specific competencies in that is managing learning environment. And what does that mean? Manage the learning environment. What hopefully I'm doing now. Right, it's the facilitator, instructor, how well do they manage the environment, solicit input, manage the room, keep things progressing, engaging students. So, here's what I want you to do. Don't don't take a lot of time. Name your badge. What would you call your badge? You're going to give me a badge for proving to you I can manage the learning environment. Give me a simple name for the badge. I want you to give me a quick sketch. Now, here's a sketch that NASA did for one of their badges. This is a sketch for an educational badge. There's a teamwork badge. There's a creativity badge. Whatever simple little icon or simple little drawing you think would represent your badge. And then give me a description of your badge. My badge would be to represent somebody who is able to manage the learning environment in whatever words you want to use. Tell me what criteria, what do I have to do to earn that badge? What would you have to do to earn that badge? What would you expect somebody should be able to do? And what evidence should they be able to show to prove they can manage a learning environment? And then I want you to tell me what other talents might that badge represent. So just take a piece of paper and just write out your badge. Any questions about this? Name of the badge, a sketch, real simple sketch of the badge, the description of the badge, very brief overview, like one sentence, and then any criteria or evidence that would establish and prove that I actually can manage the learning environment. And that's it.
It's about learning management.
This is about managing the learning environment. Now, if you want to pick something else, go ahead. You're free, be creative. If you want to be creative, you can pick another competency that you think, I would like to award a badge for this. So you decide. I'll let you, you're free. It was just to give you an idea. When you're done, if you are brave and you like your little sketch, come on up here and sketch your badge image up on the paper.